as you know, one of the most first things when you're getting started with the system, new clients, new customers, you're going to have to go ahead and enter them in. So when you go new company, and you'll see this screen appear. I'm sure most of you guys probably have at least some experience in working with this. For this, we'll just call this the test company. All right, and right under here you'll see your choices for active, prospect, vendor. Prospect, whenever you enter in a new customer into the system, it's going to default as a prospect. As soon as this company, once you've created this company and saved it, and once you actually have an order with this company, then they will automatically be converted into a client. And then also here's the option for vendor, which as you can see adds the vendor tab and all your vendor options with it. So for now we'll just go with the prospect. So the first option here, if it's if this company is a subsidiary of a larger company, you can go through if they're a subsidiary of say Bank of America, a customer that you already have, that's where you can go ahead and enter that in there. This department location, actually not very many people use it, none actually that I'm aware of, but that's just if you wanted to enter anything right there. Web address, testcompany.com, and then this little button right here would actually bring you, I think a better example for you guys would, we'll say Yahoo, and if you click on this little button right here, the web browser within Control will bring it up. Okay, right here is, and you'll see any fields in blue are going to be mandatory fields that have to be filled in before you can actually save the company. This is where you can go ahead and enter the primary salesperson if there is one for your customer, or if it's, they defaults to house account. If that's what you want to leave it at, that's fine. We'll say, Brandon is the primary salesperson. And also, you can have the option for a secondary salesperson, which you can go through. A lot of people use this for if you have, a primary salesperson for this customer, then, maybe a project manager. You can enter this. You can use the second salesperson as, the project manager. And through the system setup, there's also an option that will allow you to add a third salesperson if that's necessary. So over here we have industry, which is, all kinds different if they're, printing, manufacturing, anything. This is really, these three are kind of for marketing purposes. And if there's something in here that it's not an option, just go to new and say they're a sporting goods company. You can add that into it. And you can generate reports based off, industry and origin to, see where the majority of your customers are. Origin, how did you find this customer? Were they a referral, cold call, things like that. Region, you can kind of do with this as you want. Most people, and we internally actually use it for time zones, Eastern Standard Time, Central, things like that. All right, and right under here, you'll see the area for the billing address, which a billing address and the shipping address, they're not going to be mandatory at first because you are saving them just as a prospect. But once you do go to do an order with this company, the address, it'll ask you for an address. That will then become mandatory once they do become a client. So we'll just say 123 Main Street. Sorry, I'm not very creative. And then county, country, if any of these are necessary. And then right under here, and then if they do have a separate location, that it's the shipping address is going to default from the billing. If they have a different location, that's where you can go in and add the shipping address right there. Office phone, fax. All right, over here, the option for a standing PO number, or if you want this, every time you do an order, if a PO is required, this will alert you every time you do business with this company. Default tax class, explanatory, whatever this company goes for. Tax, if they're tax exempt, you can separate it here by state with the number and expiration date. And division, company, if this company has multiple divisions, that's where you can go in here and add those. And under here, the notes, this flags and notes. Flags will be when you go to, say, create an estimate or an order for a company. Say, for instance, and over here on the right, you'll see note checks. This is what we call the speed notes. If there's a note that you use often, such as do not accept checks for this customer, this is where you can go in there and add that. And whenever you create an order, an estimate for this company, when you go to save it, it'll pop-up box will come up and alert you saying, do not accept checks for this customer, from this customer. This notes tab is you'll just see it on the company record whenever you go to view the company, and this can be really anything that you want it to be as about information concerning this customer. All right, moving on to contacts, and you'll need a primary and a billing contact to save. Last name mandatory, and position, they're the owner, store manager, anything like that. And if an option's not available, you can go in and just add, insert, and then add a new position if one's not available. Right underneath, primary salesperson, where it has default use company salespeople, this is coming from right here, this company tab that you selected as to be this primary salesperson. And right here is nice if this is a large customer and you're working with 15 and 20 different clients within the same customer. You might have different salespeople working with different individuals. So Joe may be working with Lori as opposed to Brandon. And when you go to add a new customer or a new contact within this customer, instead of Brandon, or Lori working with Joe, Jane might be working with Sarah at all times. So it's nice to be able to separate that and pull that information in right there. Birthday, this is again, not many people use this, but birthday, if you happen to know this person's birthday, if it'll alert you, if you want to maybe send them a 5% coupon or something like that on their birthday, it's just nice to have, and shows that you kind of give them that little extra. Here's a spot to enter their email address. Right underneath this, you'll see phone, fax, and what this is going to do, it's going to default from the company phone and fax that you had, office phone and fax from the company tab. If you can change this if you'd like, and it won't affect the phone and fax from the company tab. And you also have the choice to add a third option, whether it be a cell phone, pager, anything like that, right underneath. All right, and then the billing, shipping is also, it's going to default from the company tab if you'd like to change it. If, like I said, if you're working with a customer that has many contacts and they may have a different billing address than another contact, this is where you can go in right here and change that billing address for that contact. The financial tab for a customer, this is just, are they a cash customer? If they pay this, you can also, if they pay with MasterCard all the time, you can, MasterCard, Visa, anything like that, and you can store their credit card information, payment purposes, to where you don't have to collect that information every time and go in and enter it manually. Shipping, if this customer has their own FedEx or UPS account or anything like that, you can come in here and enter in their account number and then billing code for that customer. Notes, this is just going to be absolutely anything you want, any notes about this particular customer, about this contact. Again, it can be anything that you may find helpful. The user-defined fields, this is just going to be more information about the customer. You can see, willing to refer, things like that, and you can actually go in through the user-defined field setups and add different UDFs to the contact that may help you for marketing purposes or anything like that. WebView login. This is if you are using the WebView module. This is where you go in to add a user and create their username and password for them to log into WebView. And you'll see up here primary and billing. You can change this if Sarah's the primary and Joe. Change it back and forth, whoever the primary and or billing contacts are. And to add a contact, just add and delete clone. Clone will just repeat it if it's pretty much the same and you just need to change the name or anything like that. Delete. The finance tab on the company record, if they have a credit account with you, you can check this and enter in whatever their credit account is and whatever the limit is, credit number, last approved date, anything like that. And you also have the option right here on the company record to show any outstanding orders that they have with you and the balance due. Payment terms, are they a cash customer, net 15, net 30, things like that. And the last tab, the user-defined field tabs, this is just other extra information about the client that will help you for marketing purposes, just keeping extra information on them that may be helpful in whatever way possible. You can go through, and again, if there's things there's things not on here that may be specific to your company, you can go in and create those UDFs to fill in here that'll help you guys. So I think that's pretty much it. Do you guys have any questions on anything?
Yes. If I might, where you have subsidiary, I
Right.
have a customer, for example, that has a few divisions. Now, right now, I have them set up individually. Is it better to have one overall and then have subsidiaries for each of the divisions so that I can see them together, you know, the total, like total purchases together? And if you go that route, can you see individual reports too on each entity?
Yes, you can. The best way would be to go ahead and set them up as a subsidiary. That's what I would recommend you to do. It would be easier that way.
Okay. Another question on the
Right.
the tax class. Okay, so you enter one for the overall for the customer. Now, if you have one order that's different, are you able to override that on the order?
I'm not sure. I would have to look at that for you. Off the top of my head, I'm not sure.
And then when you go in and you put in the tax exempt status, do you always have to, or when you, like, let's say they're tax exempt, then you also always have to put in the any exceptions for states or something? Seems like so tax exempt status you also have to do even if they're in default or what happens?
No. If they're, you can set it, I believe, if you, give me just a second.
In other words, when I go to do it and I put in a known tax class so that they're going to be taxed, then when I go under tax exempt status, then okay, then it defaults to none, right? Taxable. And if it was the other way around, let me see if I
the my location, that's gonna be your default, and that can be set, by you to whatever you want it to be.
But it looks like if I put in, for example, on mine a reseller, which I know then is not taxed, then I still have to come down and change the tax exempt status. Is that correct? To then say all states? Because otherwise it seems like it defaults to none, that they're taxable.
Sorry, that may just be something that needs to be changed if that's not.
Seems like we've run into a problem before with that.
Okay.
And then when you were referring to the standard company notes, you're saying that then when you do an order, that those notes will be unique for that customer?
These right here on the bottom?
The lower right?
Oh, right. No, oh, down here?
You're right.
These are going to be the speed notes. The notes, the flags are going to be when you go to create an order or an estimate, like the no checks. It'll pop up and say, do not accept checks from this customer. The notes are going to be just visible on the actual company record. Like if you go to, go into this company and open up their record and go to the notes, that's where you'll see them. It doesn't pop up on the order or anything like that. This is, it can just be anything that you want to type, any notes about the company that, may be beneficial or you need to know before doing anything with them.
Okay.
Are the standard company notes, is that going to be the same no matter what company you've got?
These are just like quick notes. So say you use the no check, the do not accept customer checks from this customer. This will just be you can go over here and double click it and it adds it automatically. These are just for efficiency purposes. This area right here is where the notes that you'll actually see.
Okay. I have a question concerning the PO number required. If you have that checked that a PO is required, if your salesperson doesn't happen to have that PO when he or she is creating the order, will they still be able to proceed with creating the order? Or do they have to have the PO available to them to put that number in when they create the order?
They'll have to have it with them, because if you have PO required checked, it won't let you save it until that PO has been entered for this customer, until that order has been entered.
I think I've actually overridden that by just putting TBD or something, to be determined.
Okay.
So I think as long as you enter something, it'll let you create the order.
Okay. Just to be sure to remember to go back and update that.
Right.
Correct. Does anybody else have anything?
Yes, I came in kind of late.
All right.
We
invoicing and isn't familiar who has to have the purchase.
Is this simply just on this particular class, or can we ask open questions?
This is just for company entry. The Thursday session of the webinars is now, we're going to be doing what we're calling in-depth training just on various topics that can be found on the customer website and today's company entry.
Can I still email implementation@sirius.com to get more detailed information?
Yes, sir, absolutely. And the webinars on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday are still going to be the same, open questions, things like that.
I actually have a quick question.
Okay.
In the upper right-hand part here, you see where it says company number?
The upper right.
Yeah, and then it's company number, and then in brackets it says new.
Yes.
Now I found as I'm entering some companies and processing orders for them, it's issuing a number in that spot there. It's like a 200 series numbers, but then others it's not.
There's not a number at all?
Yeah, a number. I'm just wondering what that's about and how that kind of happens.
You'll actually create a new customer and save it, and a company number is not being pulled in?
Yeah. And when I'm taking prospect customers, just customers who aren't clients yet, it's not.
Okay, so what you saw when I saved it, it just changed to 228.
Yeah, I saw that.
You'll actually save it, and that a number won't fill in there.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if that's the case, then that's going to be a development issue. We'll certainly get that to them and I'll let you know.
Yeah, and I guess because I was just confused when I looked through when I explored all of our customers. Out of the 15 or 20 customers that we've placed orders for using this software, it issued like 5 of them a company number, but the other 11 there was no company number issued, and it just said new still. So.
Okay. Yes, that would definitely be a development issue, and I will go talk to them right away.
Well, thank you.